It is Thursday, September 11th, 2025, and this is Armchair Analysis. Welcome in. Hope you guys are having a fantastic week so far. We're back to college football. We got football on tonight. We got Wake Forest and NC State playing tonight in Winston-Salem. I'm excited for that game, considering going, but excited for that one nonetheless. We've also got, obviously, some NFL action tonight, but we've got some more action tomorrow. And then we lead into the week. We've got plenty to talk about, plenty to preview here. We got a game preview at Florida and LSU we're going to talk about today. That was a last minute decision. Really kind of covered my bases. Thought this game has a little more storyline to it. So let's go ahead and talk about that and get into the video. But before we do, I first want to say if you're new around here, leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know your guys' thoughts on what you hear today, and certainly subscribe. Like over 90% of people who watch these videos are not subscribed, and that's okay. But we're looking to continue to grow here, and we're on the push for 200 subscribers. We're at 186 right now. We can get there. We can certainly get there. I challenge you guys to help me get there as we push forward. But with all that being said, it's a big week. We got some interesting games. A quiet yet I think pivotal week for some of this sport, and we're going to learn a little bit more about it. Before we get into that, though, I also want to say I'd be remiss to not make mention of today and what today is. 24 years ago today, of course, is the 24th anniversary of the attacks on September 11th, New York and D.C., and obviously United 93 that went down in Pennsylvania, and all the lives lost, and first responders, firefighters, police, paramedics, um, and beyond that lives were lost during that time. And you know, it's an interesting day for me. Obviously, I have a lot of family who are first responders. Currently am one myself. That's a big reason why I went into the military, was because of 9/11 and a lot of the learning I did about that time. And you know, it's just it's it's a it's a day of importance for me, and it should be for every one of us. You know, we should never want to see something like that on our home land again. And yeah, so it's it's a really a trying to think of the right words for this. It's a huge day in American history. It's a big day, and it really, um, in a sense, there's a lot of nostalgia to the unity that this country once had, and that I certainly wish we could find once again. But that's a story and a conversation for another day, and it doesn't belong on a college football show, that's for sure. So, um, just to me, it's important to me to remember not only today but every landmark day in this nation's history. And I see, because these are some of the biggest reasons why we get to witness college football every Saturday. These are some of the biggest reasons why you guys get to tune into this video, and why I get to make these videos, is because we're free enough to do so. And that freedom's super important to me, and should be to every one of you. So with that said, let's go ahead and talk college football, because that's what this show is about after all. You go into this weekend, and we've got plenty to talk about. Again, Florida LSU is going to be our preview today, which I already mentioned. But we got some news going on, and a couple of the bigger stories coming out of the game that's going to be played in Tuscaloosa this weekend. Wisconsin takes a trip down to Alabama to face the Crimson Tide, and Billy Edwards expected to be out again this week against Alabama. Of course, he missed last week as well. Um, that's tough. I think it definitely hurts, but they haven't been too much different. I don't really see this team playing much different with or without Billy Edwards. They haven't shown it to this point. I don't really have overly high hopes. There's a reason I didn't preview this game this week. I don't really think Alabama's going to hang in, or sorry, I don't really think Wisconsin's going to hang in there and win this game. But there's certainly an argument to maybe be had in some regard. Ryan Williams was announced that he will be playing, or is expected to play, I should say. Yeah, I shouldn't go to too many conclusions, but he's expected to play this weekend against Wisconsin. So that's a big addition, and hopefully Williams is healthy and fully healthy, ready to go for that game. Other news: Missouri quarterback Sam Horn has been announced that he is going to be out for the season with a broken leg. Just had surgery on that leg. Um, that's certainly tough. Obviously, he was in the conversation. He was in the battle for the QB starting quarterback spot. Bo Prabula certainly has silenced the doubters, to include myself to an extent so far. His play has certainly been above reproach with the way we've seen so far. But it is certainly tough to see somebody who's got a future. I mean, look, this is a kid who was drafted to play for the Dodgers and decided to come back to college, play one more year here in the here at Missouri, and loses that opportunity. And I just hope it doesn't affect his ability to be a part of this Dodgers organization going forward, because he's a talented baseball player as well. And it's just kind of that's a tough deal, certainly. Moving on, that's kind of our news that we've got here on Thursday, or on this Thursday. Um, we've got one game tonight, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. NC State goes on the road to face Wake Forest in Winston-Salem, Legacy Stadium. This is going to be an interesting game. Certainly going to kind of tell us what we need to know about both sides here. Wake Forest had a really troublesome first game. They came out last week against Western Carolina and opened things up a little bit, and a lot of that has to do with DeMond Claiborne being really good last week. They're looking to continue to build off of what they started here last Saturday. On the other side, NC State looked really good themselves with a impressive win over Virginia. I'm not going to say it was a great win or anything, but it was impressive. They did what they needed to do, and they scored a lot of points, being able to outlast the Virginia offense, which I personally had thoughts that maybe Virginia would win simply because their offense is better. NC State silenced a little bit of doubters themselves last week. So you look at these two teams, neither one of them are competitors in the conference, at least not the way I see it right now. But this is a bit of a confidence boost. Going into conference play, getting your first opportunity, maybe a chance to win and start 1-0, maybe lead the conference. Um, I think that would be a really, really big step forward for one of these two programs going forward this year. Obviously, Jake Dicker looking for his first ACC win of his career over here with Wake Forest. So a lot on the line tonight. It's going to be an exciting game. I'm picking NC State to win. I just think they're going to be the better team at the line of scrimmage, be able to take kind of control and slow down, make it be Robbie Ashford who beats you. And I just don't really see that happening. So that's kind of where I stand on that game. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but enough to make it worth time and make a pick. So moving on to Saturday, Florida, LSU, a huge matchup Saturday night, and we've got plenty to talk about with that. All right, my apologies for the cut. Forgot to make the graphic, of course. But here we go. Florida at LSU. What a matchup this was supposed to be, and I still think it's a good matchup. I think there's a lot of people overreacting to the loss that Florida took last week to USF. And I understand. I hear you. I understand why you feel that way, but at the same time, we look at a lot of teams. We look at Notre Dame last year, for example, an early loss, an early tough loss um, against NIU at home. Well, Notre Dame took that, kind of used it as fuel for the rest of their season, and made it all the way to the national championship. Am I claiming Florida to be a national championship contender? No. Even though I have in some senses by making them a semifinalist in my playoff predictions. Part of the reason probably I'm still a little over overly high on this team maybe, but I think there's a reason to be still pretty confident in this team. They have a solid offense. They do move the ball. We saw it against USF. They moved the ball last week. They just didn't put the ball in the end zone. They didn't finish possessions. They didn't finish drives very well. I think that's something that's going to be worked on this week. Continuing to move the ball, continuing to stay aggressive in your play calls, and not just settle down and take the points, which is something that they did last week, thinking that they were better than USF and they could do it that way. The reality of the situation is USF's a good team, and I think we're going to see that on Saturday against Miami. I almost previewed that game, but I think we're going to see that on Saturday against Miami, and we're not going to see or look at that and say that's just a terrible loss for Florida. This is a good team that can score a lot of points, can move the ball down the field. There's no question in my mind. I really like Jaden Ball. I stand behind that. I really like DJ Lagway, and I stand behind that too. LSU, on the other hand, is a team that I think has impressed, even beyond their expectations this year, which is really to be a playoff team and maybe even make a deep run. A lot of people have them as a national championship contender, and they beat my national champion in week one, and they did it pretty convincingly. They're a team that I think has a lot of really high potential throughout the roster in general, and it starts with the quarterback Garrett Nussmeier, who I think is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. My biggest reservation with him was his 12 interceptions last year, and that's my biggest reservation in this game. Is his 12 interceptions last year? They came in big games and they came against defenses that were relatively good, and I think this Florida defense is relatively good. You look at what they did against Clemson. This LSU team did against Clemson. A turnover from Garrett Nussmeier. Okay. Actually, no, sorry. I don't believe they had an interception for Garrett Nussmeier. I believe that was last week against Louisiana Tech. But they had a couple fumbles against Clemson. But the defense stepped up. The defense was great. Blake Baker was aggressive, created pressure, made Cade Klubnik uncomfortable, and really took control of that game early defensively. And I think that's something they're going to need to do here. They're going to have to focus on DJ Lagway. They're going to have to keep him within the pocket, keep him confined to a small amount of space, because if you don't, I think that's where you're going to get beat, is not allowing and not having a severe focus on number two. Because while he's not been running a lot because they're trying to keep him healthy, he is, I would say, one of the most dangerous players in college football with what he's capable of doing. Not what he will do or not what he can do, but, well, sorry, not what he will do, but what he's capable of and what he can do. Said that a little wrong. This LSU defense has that kind of potential to be able to shut him down and then really make it focus on Jaden Ball and then his ability to throw the football, DJ Lagway's ability to throw the football. We'll see how they game plan it. I think they're going to really try to create pressure and really make him uncomfortable early in this game, especially in a hostile environment. Not that he hasn't been there before, hasn't been in that situation before in a hostile environment, but really taking that in and having the opportunity to go in and say, look, I got to take control. I got to be able to lead this team. This is a real big test for both sides, in my opinion. I'm favoring LSU pretty heavy. There's a few reasons why. Obviously, the one is being what they did against Clemson, how great their defense looked against Clemson. Garrett Nussmeier just being the more experienced quarterback and then being at home is a big reason. Some other things that I wrote down here in terms of keys to the game. I normally write 3 and pick 1. So maximize scoring opportunities, and that's the biggest reason is convert those long drives, those 5, 7, well, sorry, not 5, those 7, 9, or 10 plus play drives. They need to result in touchdowns. They can't be stalled out inside the 30, inside the 40. You have to be able to push it down the field and continue to do that. Especially in this game, you have to convert touchdowns. If you have a long drive, it must result in a touchdown, because I think LSU is going to score points themselves. You got to create pressure. They only have 2 sacks so far this season. 2 sacks. And they played Long Island, and they played USF. Now, USF's a little tougher, I think, because of Byron Brown and his ability, but you only have 2 sacks. You need to create pressure and be in the backfield. That's something we expected. With a guy like Tyreek Sapp out there, you expected him to be kind of a game wrecker, and we haven't seen that yet. Create turnovers. They've only created 1 so far this year. That's kind of their biggest spot here. I'm sorry. I believe they've created 2, but the point remains that they have not quite done what is needed of them to defensively to really give me that confidence to, I think, be able to go out and win this game, create a turnover or 2 that really turn this game on its head. If you can't create turnovers, if you can't get pressure on Garrett Nussmeier, then I think there's going to be a big problem in this game, because you cannot give him the kind of time that you allowed for Byron Brown. You look at the other side, LSU, I already said, contain DJ Lagway. Part of that was just create pressure. Can do what you did to Cade Klubnik to DJ Lagway, a younger quarterback who hasn't seen quite that. Take care of the football. The biggest thing there. Garrett Nussmeier's interceptions last year, the 2 fumbles they had against Clemson. You neutralize those turnovers, the LSU wins big. utilize the run game a little bit more. Now, they've ran the ball okay. They ran it for 118 yards per game, but get Caden Durham more involved. I think he's a really big part of this offense. It can be a really crucial part in a game like this. Allow Caden Durham to kind of take the ball, put it in his hands a little bit, see what he can do. See if you can maybe turn this game around on that side of the ball as well. The lines for this game, LSU is a 7.5 point favorite. Over-under sits at 47.5. My pick for this game is LSU to win 34-21. I think they're just going to be able to move the ball. They'll take care of it better. And I think Florida's going to have a couple of drives that stall out that ultimately lose them this game. It's going to be close. It's going to be about a 1 to 2 possession game the whole way through. I just think LSU is a better team. So, with that said, let me know what you guys think or thought of today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know who you're picking on Saturday night, LSU or Florida. Let me know who you're picking tonight, NC State or Wake Forest. Would love to hear all your guys' thoughts. Again, if you're new around here, subscribe. It's free, and we're trying to hit 200. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. Hope y'all have a great rest of your day, and we will see you guys tomorrow with a Friday preview and my Take 10 for week number 3.